there is going to be a phasing of decarbonization. So the developed economies would be the first to reach certain decarbonization levels. That would be the developed world, the US, Europe. But a lot of other economies, India and China and others, they are far, far from being in a place where they can even start thinking about decarbonization in any meaningful way. Because a lot of these consumers who have never benefited from the developed world, right? They don't have washing machines at home. They don't drive cars, right? And as the countries get richer, their consumption increases. With that, their carbon footprint will invariably increase. So a significant portion of the world and the world's population that's coming out from deep poverty into middle class, their carbon footprint will continue to increase. There will be a point in time where once they have achieved a minimum level of life comforts, when they would start thinking about how do you decarbonize it. Very much the same pattern that we have seen in developed countries. The US had all these coal plants, even Europe went through industrial revolution and had enough emissions. And that's the challenge, trying to dictate these decarbonization terms on countries like India and China. Their response is, you had your share, now it's my turn. So how do you convince India to stop burning coal when they need the cheap power to supply the masses that are currently not even benefiting from the electricity or any benefits from the modernization of the economy? So I do think that developed countries will get there first, and then the developing countries after a transition period would start to get there. So if anything, the global carbon footprint might actually increase over the next decade or so before it starts, or maybe 2 decades before it starts to decline again. And I think the whole world is trying very hard to not have the developing economies go through that peaking of CO2. But practically speaking, I think it's going to be hard. But I do think that over time, US and mainland Europe will get to significant decarbonization levels. The question becomes, how long is that energy transition? And that's a long road. Right now, you produce an electron, you have to use it immediately. You can't put it away somewhere. So it has to be a real-time match. If you can figure out a cost-effective way to store it, it would really help with the decarbonization effort, because then you can build huge amounts of wind and solar and then store it and then use it when you need it. Now, is that going to solve all our problems? That also remains to be seen, because the other piece is with wind and solar, they are not, at the end of the day, impact-free. So they affect the CO2 levels, but they are affecting the land usage. So what you would have is, in order to replace the entirety of gas-fired power plants in this country and replace it with batteries and wind and solar, the amount of land usage that it would take is so extensive that would start rubbing against other industries and basic human needs, for example, agriculture. So you are going to run at a point in time where you would not be able to build more wind and solar anymore, because you would run out of the right kind of land to do so. If I look out 100 years, you would have material levels of decarbonization that you would have achieved, but it would not just be with wind and solar. It would be wind, solar, battery storage. It would be carbon capture. It would be hydrogen, ammonia. All of these pieces would have to play together to reduce the carbon footprint. But relying on just wind and solar and battery storage to solve our problems isn't going to work. So it has to be all of the above, and it will have to be like that for a very long time.